Look at these protests, for crying out loud, on this last weekend's protests in Brazil, because a lot of Americans have not been following that. They don't understand, what's been happening in Brazil. And of course, Bolsonaro, your father, immensely popular. It's unbelievable, the size of it.
Yes, and it shows a lot of not only the support of for Bolsonaro, remembering that my father, he's not the president anymore,
Right.
And the Superior Electoral Court decided in a record time that he's not capable anymore to run for president in the next election of 2026.
Mr. Bolsonaro, can you hear me and see me, sir?
Yes, Steve, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk with your great audience. I'm very sad because Rumble is not here in Brazil anymore. And I really appreciate that you are now on YouTube, I guess because of me and the Brazilian audience. Thank you for that.
No, I appreciate it. And we're largely on Rumble because I'm sure we'll be banned here on YouTube very shortly. So, Mr. Bolsonaro, first off, can you tell people, for people here in the States, I know people in Brazil are very familiar with you, but for people in the States, kind of who you are, your background, just a snapshot, because I think it's pretty cool.
Thank you. I'm the third son of President Jair Bolsonaro. I'm a lawyer, also a federal police officer, which in Brazil, we do not have the same work of the feds that you have in the United States. It's a totally different works. We take care of the border, drugs, airports, ports, and some other federal crimes. And since 2014, I'm a federal representative in the House here in Brazil. And in 2018, I became the most voted ever congressman in the history of Brazil. And I'm also former chairman of the Foreign Affairs and National Defense Committee.
That's
so that's it.
That's
I'm
all.
Father, I have 2 kids. I have a lot of other stories to talk to you, but in general,
that's your resume is short, as you say. It's a short resume. But it's okay. So look, you are in Brazil, and right now in South America, we see this groundswell. Right, we just saw these protests in the streets of Brazil over the left-wing president Lula, and then we saw in Colombia protests over the left-wing president Gustavo Petro. We'll show some of these clips later, or you can maybe bring it up as B-roll if you want to put it on silent so we don't distract from it here. I'd like to ask you, do you have an update on, look at these protests, for crying out loud, on this last weekend's protests in Brazil? Because a lot of Americans have not been following that. They don't understand, what's been happening in Brazil. And of course, Bolsonaro, your father, immensely popular. It's unbelievable, the size of it.
Yes, and it shows a lot of not only the support of for Bolsonaro, remembering that my father, he's not the president anymore,
right?
And the Superior Electoral Court decided in a record time that he's not capable anymore to run for president in the next election of 2026. And this is not because he was accused of steal something, bribery, nothing like that. It's because he had a meeting with ambassadors and he criticized the electoral process of Brazil. So in Brazil, there are some things that you cannot debate, like vaccines, like electoral process, and things like that. Because actually, the people who is controlling Brazil, and I had to tell you the justice from the Supreme Court, Alexandre de Moraes, who is also the president of the Superior Electoral Court in Brazil, he decides about what you can talk and about what you cannot talk in social media. So this is the problem. They are very aggressive trying to control the society, trying to control the debate. And this is hurting even Elon Musk. Elon Musk he's having a problem now because he's saying that he was receiving some orders from this justice, Alexandre de Moraes, to block people on social media in 2 hours. And if he doesn't do that, he will receive a fine of $20,000 every day.
Right.
And it happened mainly in the electoral time in Brazil in October of 2022. So this is the mess coming out there now in Brazil by the voice of Elon Musk. And he said that when this justice from the Supreme Court was ordering X to block profiles, to block users, he was saying that to the users do not know that these orders were coming from his hands.
Right.
So he was saying, hey, Elon, block these people, but do not let them know that me, Alexandre de Moraes, is blocking them.
Right.
And this is only one of the illegal things that he done.
Well, he's actually pushing now, Marias, for people who don't know, pushing for a complete ban on X altogether to fight so-called, what he says, digital militias. And Rumble is no longer available in Brazil because they've been asked, we've talked about this, they've been asked to remove certain content creators, and they say that they won't actually play ball with that. Let me ask you this, given that that's kind of what's going on and that Lula, the current person in charge, has some control over media in Brazil, how are Brazilian citizens able to get both sides of the story right now? Because it's given all of that, it's shocking to see that many people in the street, let alone anyone at all, considering the control of media that they seem to have in the left right there in Brazil.
Did you remember, Steve, in the beginning of the WhatsApp, when you have the possibility to forward messages as many people as you'd like to do forward?
Yes, my grandmother at that point would forward me pictures of a prairie dog's testicles. So I wasn't a huge fan, but that was with the internet.
But then after that, you start, imagine that, a company that works with communication, reducing the capability of their tools to do communication with others. Everything about that, I do believe it was trying to reduce the power of not only Jair Bolsonaro, but all of the other conservatives in Brazil and maybe all around the world, because we are doing great in social media. And with the social media, it was the content necessary to bring up some light and stop with the monopoly of the information of the mainstream media. So if you follow what is going on in Brazil, first they try to say that you are fascist, Nazist, racist, and all of that.
Right.
And it didn't work. Now they're trying to censor you. And here in Brazil, they are bringing people to the prison because of that. And I'm not only talking about the January 8th that we had here in Brazil, that is pretty much looks like what you had in the United States in January 6th. But here in Brazil, no one died. There was no weapon, not even one gun seized,
right.
Not even one shot, absolutely nothing. And a lot of people that went to the prison here in Brazil, they arrested in the same day almost 2,000 people. A big part of them, they were camped in front of a military headquarters, kilometers far away from the Three Powers Square, where happened the invasion of the Congress, of our White House, and the Supreme Court. So what they are basically trying to do is to kill a spontaneous movement that was led, or actually is led, by Jair Bolsonaro. So when Bolsonaro go to the streets and call people to protest together with him in the Copacabana beach, like yesterday, what we are showing to the people is, okay, if it was a fair election that we had in 2022, where are the voters and the supporters of the number one, the guy who won the election, Lula da Silva?
Right.
It's unbelievable because he has no support. And my father, he has a huge support still if he's not non-eligible.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. Since they've made him ineligible at this point, and of course they've done this with the sort of tacit support of the United States government, right? They're obviously far more Lula fans than Bolsonaro. It's just interesting that anyone in our government would have a dog in that fight. Raises questions and certainly seems to be, I guess, eerily similar to the election here in the United States. How are people like you and your dad in Brazil? Because in the United States, a lot of people here feel as though they're helpless to fight back policy-wise, right? We just saw $60 billion go to Ukraine. But they do feel as though, okay, at least we can speak on X now and Rumble as an alternative. So there's something there. With you guys, you don't have access to Rumble. They're trying to ban X. Your dad's been made ineligible. What is it that you guys are doing or can do to fight back against this corrupt government's actions?
We have to be smart, because at least they have to use any kind of thing, even legal things, to bring you some problems, to put you inside of investigations of the federal police or something like that. For example, there is a congressman like me. His name is Daniel Silveira. He's in jail now. And why he's in jail? Because he recorded a video talking bad words for the Supreme Court justices. So he was at home. He recorded a video saying bad words for the Supreme Court justices, and he went to the prison. He's convicted for almost 9 years in jail because of this video. Okay? Wow. At that time, my father was president of Brazil, and my father gave to him the presidential pardon. Mm-hmm. But when my father stepped out from the presidency, what the Supreme Court did, they overturned the presidential pardon and bring back again Daniel Silveira to prison. So nowadays, he is in prison, okay? This is a message that we, senators and federal representatives, doesn't matter, we have no immunity to talk, to speak whatever we want. So we have to be very smart, very careful what we are doing. Sometimes we can do things that we cannot publish or tell people that we are doing, not because they are illegals, but to not show the strategy to our enemies.
Right.
Because if they have the chance, they will destroy you. Just what they did with, for example, Paulo Figueiredo, that used to had an interview
Yeah.
a couple of days ago. He's United States, but as Alexandre de Moraes cannot extradite him,
Right.
he canceled his passport and blocked his bank accounts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here in Brazil, what I do is I have to control what I'm talking and bring to the people the same message using other words.
Right.
And only to finish with this issue, when Elon Musk started to talk about what happened behind the scenes during the election times in Brazil, these bizarre orders coming from the Supreme Court, Alexandre de Moraes, now he appointed Elon Musk inside of a federal investigation. So Elon Musk is under investigation in Brazil by the Brazilian FBI. Yesterday came up what we call here a police report saying that
We
maybe
call it that here too.
Yeah, it's they use that to prepare for the judicial process.
Okay.
So very likely tomorrow I'll be in the same situation of Elon Musk. But Elon Musk lives in the United States, I live here, and this is a problem.
That's scary.
They made a report saying that I am reorganizing together with other congressmen the international network of the extremists. I don't know if it sounds familiar for you, but they're saying that the problem is here in Brazil is the same virus that we have in the United States. But the problem is that we have less antibodies. And this is the problem. If Trump, he's facing some unfair trials in New York, if he had this mug short in Georgia, if I'm not wrong, here in Brazil, the risk is the level is a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
Like the risk here is you go to the jail.
Of course.
And if you go, for example, to Bolivia, the former president of Bolivia, she's in jail, Janine Áñez. Why? Because anti-democratic acts. So
right.
Depending the level of the things, you can go to the jail and face some trials.
Right. Well, and then you see what's happening, in Colombia. And let me ask you this, because I know there's been a huge rivalry. I know largely soccer-based, Brazil, Argentina. But with Milei, do you feel conflicted now? Do you think all right, we're kind of friends, even though we've hated each other for a long time?
But Milei, he's doing great because his chancellor, Diana Mondino, she offered refugee or asylum for the Twitter ex-employees that are under risk to go to the jail because of Alexandre de Moraes.
Right.
And she tweeted on X, she posted on X that we share the same, everybody who shares the value of the liberty and the freedom, they are more than welcome to come here to Argentina. We are going to protect you. And it was great.
Yeah.
And it shows how important it is you have friends here in the region. And it shows even more how important it is to you elect Donald Trump this year in November, United States. The election of Donald Trump will shift back again, not only United States, but the rural region to the right wing, to run away from the China government, to run away from the socialist government that want to control everybody. Because if you see the problems that Rumble they are having in Brazil, you have in Australia, you have in France. So this virus is going everywhere all around the world.
Yeah.
What makes Brazil special is because in Brazil, this virus is coming from the judiciary. And in the other countries, it comes from the administration, the federal government that they have. And more than that, finishing this comment here, Steve, is because Michael Schellenberg, who is the journalist who is launching everything about the Twitter Files Brazil scandal, he said that now the Judiciary Committee, they are putting their energy to see if the State Department of the United States somehow helped the Alexandre de Moraes, the Supreme Court, and the Superior Electoral Court.
Yeah.
And even more than that, because they can be together with the British intelligence. It would not be a surprise for us, especially you Americans, because you saw what happened with the suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop case when the FBI asked for some media to do not.
Right. They asked him to suppress it. Oh, boy. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, so.
Sorry, your connection cut out for a second. But yes, I heard what you were saying about the Hunter Biden laptop story. Yes, so I know you wanted to finish, but no, you're absolutely right. That was as a matter of fact, on our show, we've talked about this. It was revealed for the first time physically. Rudy Giuliani was on our show, and he said, that's the Hunter Biden laptop. I said, wait, that's the laptop? He goes, yeah, it's right here. The FBI didn't want it. They came, took everything in my apartment. They didn't take that. That was the only thing the FBI was not interested in. And we were shocked at that point in time. Yeah, just that one thing can change an election. And then, of course, like you said, in Brazil, you add the power of the judiciary there. I mean, it's very relevant when you have a current former vice president who wants to pack, meaning add seats to the Supreme Court. They've made it known in no uncertain terms that they want to give more authority to the court, provided it's created in their image. So the best place to find you, Edward, I know on X is Bolsonaro SP. Is there anywhere else that someone can follow you and kind of stay on top of it in case they ban X in Brazil?
I have all the other regular medias, Facebook, Instagram, Bolsonaro SP2. And I think I do appreciate, Steve, for the opportunity that you are giving to me. And I'll be in DC at the Capitol for the hearing of Elon Musk on 7th or May 8th. Not sure about the date, but we will be around because we think that is only the top of the iceberg what we are looking now. Things are going to be really worse on the next chapters of this story.
Well, hopefully we can connect with you, and whenever you come stateside, bring as many Brazilian women as possible. We appreciate it very much. Look, everyone knows this about Brazil. Anyone who travels, like in Brazil, I don't know if they're just born models. Mr. Bolsonaro, I appreciate it. I know you're busy, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. All the best. God bless you.
All right, God bless you. Be well. This has been Eduardo Bolsonaro, everybody.
Watch Louder with Crowder live Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.